Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News live from our studio here at Adesawe in Accra. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up for the next 30 minutes, we'll be going straight to the courts to bring you highlights of a big story just coming in, which is that Chinese national Aisha Huan has been found guilty by an Accra High Court for committing various mining offences. Details of that in a jiffy. Later in the bulletin, pressure mounts on hundreds of first-year senior high school students who are expected to report to school today. Meanwhile, Education Minister Professor Asiedu-Dartey is yet to appear before Parliament to answer questions regarding why there isn't a reconsideration of the reopening date as being proposed by Parliament. And later, we'll let you know what the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been doing, as it has declared 6 persons wanted for vote buy-in in the just ended New Patriotic Party Orphan constituency primaries, which took place over the weekend. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Details of these stories in a second. We are live around the world on 3news.com. We are also streaming on our Facebook as well, and we'll be happy to hear what your thoughts are on the many stories we have for you tonight. And we're starting our conversation from Parliament by starting from the office of the special, of the President, because Parliament will have to rework the anti-witchcraft bill before it can be received. It can receive some executive accent. President Akufo-Addo notifies Parliament that he is unable to assent to the Criminal Offences and Amendment Bill, which he says raises some constitutional matters. The bill, which is an amendment to the country's Criminal and Other Offences Act, was passed by Parliament 4 months ago and is geared to stopping witchcraft proclamation, which had resulted in the lynching of some persons in parts of the country. Let's speak to Komla Klucha, our parliamentary correspondent, on this particular development. Komla, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us from Parliament. To start with, tell us what exactly the constitutional matters are emanating from the office of the President about the bill.
Well, the communication read by the Speaker in that regard coming from the President did not state exactly what those constitutional matters are. But the Speaker just read it. It's a communication that has come from the seat of the government, and so he is bound by the standing order to read it. And so he has officially communicated this. What is left is that it now needs to go through to the point where the committee involved will also have to assess it. Not much details has been given by them, and there was absolutely no word at all coming from the Speaker, except for him to have read this on the floor.
Right, but we know that even before the bit about the bill being in the office of the President for a number of days, it was being discussed in Parliament. Following this new development, what has the reaction of the MPs been?
There was no reaction at all in this, because this was a matter that the House discussed a few days. I think this was about last week or so thereabout. The House had gone into this where the Speaker had said that he met the President at the funeral. The President invited him for a meeting over this matter. Subsequently, the President issued a statement indicating that the bill was only brought to him just a day before, and so there was a reason why they had not assented to it. But now he has officially communicated in a memorandum to Parliament addressed to the clerk, to the Speaker, where he's indicating that this is the reason why is not able to. It only came under the broad topic of constitutional matters, but the committee and Parliament as a whole will now have to delve into it, and then they look at what exactly the concerns of the President is.
Right, and Komla, finally, before you take leave of us, we know that the Education Minister is expected in Parliament. Has he turned up? What's the conversation about his expected appearance?
Well, a while ago, the Speaker directed that the minister, Dr. Asiedu-Dartey, should report himself to Parliament for defying that directive of the House last week Thursday, that he should come to the House and brief them on the issue about the reporting date. Just a day after that, over the weekend, I think on Saturday, the Ministry of Education issued a statement defying the orders of the House. Now, the Speaker said if the Minister does not report before 12:30, the Minister will be hauled before the Privileges Committee. And you can visibly see an angry Speaker who didn't mince words at all. And this was also complemented by comments from the former minority leader, Martin Asiedu-Dartey, and a host of other MPs. But just before midday, we saw the ministers zoom into the House now awaiting for that 12:30 meeting. He's also got a lot of questions to answer now, and members are putting that currently speaking. Members are taking him through that. Questions that have been asked, Godwin, in the sector, they are taking him through that.
Okay. Kamala, thank you so much for your time. He's a parliamentary correspondent updating us on development in the House regarding the anti-witchcraft bill, which we are told a letter from the office of the president has just been written to the Speaker of Parliament, raising a number of issues which, according to the letter, the president is saying that raises a few constitutional matters. Let's engage a lawyer who actually has paid attention right from the beginning up until now to this particular bill. Justice Abdullah, a private legal practitioner, good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I believe you're doing good.
Not bad at all. Thank you. Do you have any concerns? We are yet to get the fine details of what the constitutional concerns the president is referring to are. However, the bill in its current form, what are your thoughts on it? And are there any constitutional matters that you also see in there?
Indeed, I have not averted my mind to the alleged constitutional matters that the president through Parliament informs us of. And I think it will be very interesting for all of us to have those issues before us. And it's quite curious that the Attorney General promoted this bill. And so at all material times, the president is deemed to have been aware of whatever constitutional ramifications the bill had impacted on. And so I would expect that the president would have been in the known right from day one, because this bill emanated from his office, that's the Attorney General's office. And so I expect that the president knows everything about it. So how did this potential constitutional breach occur without anyone averting his mind to say? I think that it's quite difficult for me to appreciate that at this moment, considering that, as I've indicated, the bill is not a private member's bill, so that you didn't have the Attorney General's input into it. This came from the government, the executive.
Right.
So it's quite difficult to get that. In addition to the fact that, from my understanding, this bill the past bill had been at the office of the president for well over the period of time that it requires to be there. If the president had consent, the Constitution provides a framework that it be referred to the Council of State or completely be returned to the Parliament with all those consents almost immediately. There are timelines. And so I'm wondering why it has taken this long. Because I remember sometimes last week, there were a series of concerns being raised as to why the president had not assented to the bill.
Right. Okay.
And these questions were answered positively, that the president was going to assent to it. So it appears at this point that we were lied to once again.
Right. Anyway.
Clearly unfair. That's wrong.
Okay.
That's completely wrong.
We like you indicated, all of us are unsure what exactly the concerns the president is raising regarding this bill. But do stay with us. Hopefully our parliamentary correspondent by close of day can get us some fine details on that. There is another big issue we'd want to pick your thoughts on, but do hold on for me. Let me speak to my court correspondent, Joseph Akable, who has joined us now. And the big news is that Chinese national Aisha Huan has now been found guilty by an Accra High Court for committing various mining offenses. Trial Judge Lydia Mafo noted that the evidence provided by the state in the form of videos, pictures, and testimonies of witnesses leaves her with no choice but to conclude that Aisha Huang undertook mining contracts, contrary to the law, or undertook mining activities which are contrary to the law. Joseph, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Has the court announced the sentence specifically and when it is going to take effect?
Yes, just a couple of minutes ago, just about 2 minutes ago, the court announced the sentence to be imposed. In terms of the counts 1 and 2, the issues bordering on the mining, she's been sentenced to serve 4 years and 6 months in prison. She's also been slapped with a fine of 3,000 penalty units, or in default will serve 4 years and 6 months. Again, for some of the other offenses, like count 3, she's been sentenced to 4 years and 12 months in prison and 1,000 penalty units before to serve 3 years. And she's also paid a fine on all counts. And these sentences are to run concurrently, and upon serving the full sentence, the accused will be deported back to their home country. So in terms of how long she will be in jail, because the sentences are to run concurrently, it will mean that she will be at least in prison for a minimum of 4 years before she can go out. And the court expects that she also pays the fine that has been imposed, and should she default on that, then there will be the additional custodial sentence that will be imposed. And alternatively, like the court has also indicated, not alternatively, the court has indicated actually that once she's done serving full term, she should be deported out of the country back to China.
Wow. Okay. And finally and briefly, did her lawyers raise any, asking for probably a review or a reconsideration of the judgment?
In fact, before the sentence was announced, the lawyers did make a strong case asking the court to take a second look at what sentence to impose, because the argument was that he's someone who has not been convicted of any offense in this country. The court took all of that into consideration and decided to impose the 4-year jail term that is standard now out, as well as the bail fine.
Joseph, thank you so much. Joseph Akable is a reporter from the court who's just updated us on the news that Aisha Huang, the Chinese national who had been undertaking some illegal mining activities, has now been sentenced. Justice Abdullah is still with us. Thank you for staying with us. What are your initial thoughts on this? It's run several years. Now there is final judgment.
For starters, I would say that this is feather in our cap, and that the state has indeed walked the talk by ensuring that this case has seen a closure, particularly when you take into consideration some comments that were made by the senior minister, Yosaf Mafo, to the effect that because the Chinese government has been sponsoring the state, in effect, they cannot convict Aisha Huang or even prosecute her. And indeed, all other Chinese nationals on the basis of their sponsorship of our budget. If you take that into consideration, I think this one becomes good news for all of us, and indeed it's also good news for the media, for their campaign, for the fight against mining and the destructions of our environment. Taken from that angle, I think it is good. But we take it from the point of view of the sentence that has been handed down. I think 4 years, the judge has been too kind, and I do not know whether that is deterrent enough, considering the circumstances of this particular case. First, let's remember this case took a huge national campaign for the prosecution to even comment. And the Aisha one was more or less the test case for the fight against Galamsey, and
right.
Everybody was watching out to see what happens at the end of the day. So, if a sentence of this kind emerges, looking at the plethora of evidence that the state claimed to have had at the time, and the evidence that was probably adduced, you would have expected a higher sentence rather than 4 years, which was handed down.
Okay. Justice Abdullah, pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you so much for your time.
It's great talking to you.
He is a private legal practitioner helping us put into, better perspective this latest sentencing of Aisha Huang, who is expected to spend 4 years behind bars. 4 years, 6 months actually. And then after serving that sentence, she's to be deported out of the jurisdiction of Ghana. What do you make of it? And how would this even help in the general fight against illegal mining and the destruction of our environment? Do let us know. We'll be happy to hear your thoughts on this subject. Talking about destruction of environment and issues regarding the climate, let's go to Dubai now, because government is justifying the large contingent of delegates from Ghana to the World Climate Action Summit COP28, which is currently ongoing in Dubai. Ghana this year presented some 618 delegates for the world event, almost 100% increase from those who attended COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in 2022. That was held in Egypt. This development has drawn a lot of flack for the government in both traditional and social media. However, government has mounted a strong defense, insisting that it has not engaged in any wasteful expenditure as far as the summit is concerned. Minister for Environment, Science and Innovation, Kwekwe Friye, who is the head of the Ghanaian delegation, has been telling 3FM that Ghana should have sent a much larger delegation to this particular conference, and has even been indicating that whereas things stand, other countries have sent even more people than we do have. Let's speak to my colleague Ali Napo Fuseni, who has been at the conference and has joined us for a conversation on this. All right, so we'll try and see if we can connect to Ali Napo on this, who actually even gave us the indication that government sent some 618 delegates to this conference, and many other countries are actually on social media. You can hear the conversation loud and clear, where a number of people are raising concerns about the total number of people who've been sent from individual countries to meet up in Dubai to talk about the environment, the climate, and how we can help fight climate change. Details of that will come to you in our subsequent bulletins. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. Let's go on to some other stories that we have for you this afternoon. Mind you, you can also be a part of the show. We'll be happy to hear what your thoughts are on the many stories we have for you tonight. Today is the 4th of December, and you know that here in Ghana, several secondary schools are expecting first-year students. So let's bring you stories regarding that and how all of this is playing out, especially for the expected students, and how parents are feeling the brunt, because pressure is mounting on hundreds of first-year students who are expected to report to their various secondary schools as schools have reopened according to a directive by the Ghana Education Service. A decision that has sparked mixed reactions among parents who find it harsh and hastily implemented, resulting in ill preparation and major challenges even in acquiring some of the necessary items for the awards to go to school. At the Nat Hall in Accra, students together with their parents have besieged the place in frantic attempts to secure a senior high school spot, and you would know that a number of them are also seeking to change their schools and change their status. And in this status, we're talking about whether they want to be day students or boarding students. Also, they want to move from other regions to a specific region closer to them. Others want to move from the region where they are because the schools of choice are further away from where they live. So all of these have come up. Hundreds have trooped the Accra Correction Center, where we are told that they are all seeking to get some assistance. Mind you, over 100,000 of the students who are expected to go to the senior high schools are saying also that they actually are supposed to be placed, but the computerized system did not give them the schools of choice or did not place them at all, although they are qualified. So the government, through the Ghana Education Service, is saying that they have to now do what they call self-placement. So what is the strategy now, and how is it going to play out? We'll be touching base with a number of our reporters to have a sense of how all of this is going down in the various regions. Let's start from the central region. Thomas Khan has joined us to give us an idea what exactly is going on in the central region. Thomas, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. I'm sure you've been interacting with a number of parents, students. What exactly is the situation in the central region?
So, Martin, I visited a couple of schools in the central region, And then this morning, we first went to Fanskin School, where lots of the students who were posted there have started reporting to school. And we interacted with some of these students and then their parents. And then so far, the parents and students, they've commended the school authorities for the process so far. According to them, the smooth level of the admission process is one that is really commendable. And when you get to the school, you just have to show your admission form or admission letter. That is where you take it to the house or the hall that you've been allocated. So you go there, you go through the process. Then finally, you get to the administration where the final verification is done, and then you already are admitted to the school. Just before we left, parents were being held in a meeting where they were giving in some of the rules and all the things that they need to know about the person, and we're going through that process. But Martin, one area that we went that parents had issues with the whole process or admission process was Holy Child, where the parents were complaining bitterly about the slow pace about the whole process. Over there, we were told that unfortunately the verification was just done in the office of the headmistress or just done by the headmistress, which a lot of the parents complained about because they feel that they should have had a number of staff helping in that process and not just the headmistress going through that process, which has delayed everything in that school.
All right. Thomas, thank you so much for those updates from the central region where he's visited a number of schools. Judith Brown has also joined us. She was here in Accra at the Nat Hall, where we are told that a placement center, a number of parents have turned up. Judith, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. What can you report?
Right, Martin. And so, yes, I am at the Nat Hall, and this is supposed to be a school placement resolution center now because ever since the placements were released, a number of parents as well as students come here to get their placement challenges resolved. Over here, there are a number of challenges they are resolving. And the first would be that they're resolving issues of no placement. They are also resolving issues of change of school, change of program, as well as change of status. And when we talk about change of status, they're talking about from boarding to day or from day to boarding. And so there are quite a number of parents who have complained that they're here in Accra, but their students or their wards have been posted to say Wale Wale and with day as well. And so these are the challenges that they are facing right here, and they've come to resolve. It's been quite a hectic process for them because, I mean, the people here are overwhelming. There's a huge number of parents here as well as their wards trying to get their challenges resolved. And so this is what is happening. I've been speaking to some of them, and they've been telling me that their main challenge is with how hectic the process is due to the numbers over here.
Thank you very much, Judith Brown, with that report from the Nat Hall here, where a number of parents have massed up, all in desperation to ensure that they get placement for their wards. And if you're a parent, you're a guardian, you're listening to us, what are your thoughts on this? Let's hear from you as well. In the Ashanti region, though, Ibrahim Abubakar has also been engaging a number of parents and who are actually expressing same frustration, as you heard from the central region and also here in the Greater Accra region. Let's listen to some of them.
For those years back, the items that we were putting in were not too much. But so far, I think we shall manage it. But the government should do more. These more attempts, almost 3,000. 3,000. See, provided you want the quality ones.
Okay, so that's actually a parent sharing his thoughts on what exactly has been going on. Let's speak to Ibrahim Abubakar on what the particular concern is. Ibrahim, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. What can you report? We know we've just heard from Greater Accra, Ashanti, Greater Accra, Cape Coast, and a number of other regions about challenges for the parents. From where you are reporting, what have you seen?
Martin, I've been to a couple of the senior high schools, and today, and some of the students are reporting, but not fully. In fact, some of them even come to check the environment, take their prospectus, and go. Especially, some have to come from far places. Some just have to even come and check their name. Apart from those places, I just quickly move to KTI, where they have the resolution center, and hundreds of kids and parents have come here just to race against time and get schools for the awards. Some of them, they've gotten schools, but they need it to be changed. Others who have not gotten schools at all, and they are trying that they will be able to get schools before the close of the week. In fact, officials have assured them that they should all exercise patience. Everyone, each and everyone will be safe. But the numbers swelling up, and some patients are even running out of time. They think they've been here for a longer hours, and the process is not moving a bit faster. So it's a bit of chaos at the resolution center, but you go to the various senior schools, and students are coming. And generally, parents are a bit satisfied with the decision by GS to bring a uniform prospectus, because it has kind of cut down with the cost that they incurred compared to previous years.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that brief update from the Ashanti region regarding the same story. It looks as though the challenge is nationwide. We will be updating you in subsequent bulletins on how it all goes. And just before we leave the studio for the latest in the world of business, let's bring you the story regarding what the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been up to. So the OSP has declared 6 persons wanted for vote buying in the just ended New Patriotic Party orphan constituency elections. According to the OSP, these persons and others were engaged in corruption-related activities. The OSP's action follows a serious viral video and publication by some mainstream media of persons openly engaged in exchange of money to influence their voting pattern. They are persons who are wanted by the OSP for corruption and corruption-related offences. And the OSP, however, did not provide the names of these individuals as shown in a post. So if you go to our website, 3news.com, you'll get details of exactly what the people who the OSP is looking for look like. And you probably may be able to help the OSP in that regard. That's it for the bulletin. It came your way from our studio here at Adisa Way in Accra. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Bismarck Usa is next with business.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily. Coming up in this bulletin, interest rates return to upward trajectory in latest Treasury bills auction as government misses target by 30%. Also, Bank of Ghana data reveals marginal decline in ATM deployment as internet banking transactions increased by 43% to 80.4 billion cedis in 2022. Plus, Ghana Association of Banks warns against loan evasion, citing its impact on economic growth. We will hear from its chief executive, Johnny Waugh.
I'm sure you know people when you want to transfer money to their mobile account, they say, oh, no, don't use this number, use that number. Don't do it. If they say don't transfer to my number, transfer to that number.
I am Bismarck Usa. These stories and others lined up for you. Stay with me. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. For the first time in about a month, interest rates on government treasury bills have increased following an under-subscription of about 30.27%. The reversal in the trend of yields, according to experts, is attributable to the recent policy rate decision by the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana. The following report has more. The Bank of Ghana's 2022 Payment Systems Oversight Annual Report revealed
with a target of about 5.618 billion cedis, government managed to secure 3.917 billion cedis from the last treasury auction, with a chunk of the bids from the 364-day bill. Although all bids tendered were accepted, government missed this target by about 1.7 billion cedis. Interest rates shot up consequently, with the yields on the one-year bill hovering around 33.4% from 33.2% previously. For the 182-day bill, the rate shot up marginally to 31.76% from 31.75% last week. That of the 91-day bill also went up to 29.56% from 29.49%. Lead researcher at GCB Capital, Courage Boti, says the reversal in trends is a temporal market reaction.
The Bank of Ghana on Monday maintained the policy rate at 30%, but increased the cash reserve ratio and unified the currency denomination for holding reserves at the Bank of Ghana from holding CD, deposit and CD, and of course foreign currency in the respective foreign currencies now to a unified CD holding. What that did was it mopped up in excess of 11 billion from the system, from that single action really. Makes a lot of sense in that the banks were not even as liquid to start with to go in. And the target was in itself over ambitious. It's natural that if there is excess demand relative to target, the pricing, in this case, the yield, the clearing yields would go up, and we saw the marginal climbs in that. It is not a trend that I expect will continue. The market will ultimately rebalance once we do not have very high auction targets and liquidity levels normalize on the market. You should see a return to the path of declining yields, really.
And that was economist Courage Boti ending a Business Desk report. Moving on, a recent Bank of Ghana data has revealed that the number of registered internet banking customers increased by 16.4% from a little above 970,000 in 2021 to over 1.1 million in 2022. Similarly, the number of registered mobile banking customers increased by 15.38% from over 5.8 million in 2021 to more than 6.7 million in 2022. The following three Business News Desk report has the details. The Bank of Ghana's 2022 Payment Systems Oversight Annual Report revealed substantial growth in internet and mobile banking transactions. Internet banking transactions soared by an impressive 43.03%, reaching 80.43 billion cedis in 2022 compared to 56.23 billion cedis in the previous year. Similarly, the value of mobile banking transactions witnessed a robust surge, escalating by 47.34% to 38.47 billion cedis in 2022, up from 26.11 billion cedis in 2021. The central bank's data underscored a clear trend towards digital channels for financial transactions in the country. Despite this surge in digital avenues, the report highlighted a marginal decline of 0.97% in the cumulative number of ATMs deployed by the banks. The count slipped from 2,278 in 2021 to 2,256 by the end of December 2022, reflecting a shift in consumer preferences away from traditional ATMs. Contrastingly, the number of point-of-sale POS devices experienced a notable uptick, registering a 6.13% increase. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Association of Banks, John Ewuah, has urged Ghanaians not to condone activities that aim to evade loan repayments. Mr. Ewuah laments that the current rate of non-performing loans recorded by banks does not promote economic growth and development.
Ghana's non-performing loans ratio stood at 20% in August 2023 compared to the previous month's ratio of 19.1%, making it one of the highest in the sub-region. According to the president of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Ewuah, This has become an albatross around the necks of financial institution managers.
As participants within the financial system, we should all be worried that if a borrower takes money and uses all kinds of gimmicks within the judicial system, the court, the lands commission, whoever or whatever state institution has to do something to ensure that the bank is able to recover, and that is not done, it goes to the heart of financial intermediation, because you are reducing the capacity of the financial institution from being able to lend to the next person who perhaps may need it even more.
He urges every Ghanaian to join in the fight against reducing the current rate of non-performing loans.
When you take a loan from the banking system, your number one priority is, how am I going to pay back? You know, if you check with the MTOs and the other, I'm talking about the mobile financial service providers, those undertaking micro lending. You find, I'm sure you know people, when you want to transfer money to their mobile account, they say, oh, no, don't use this number, use that number. Don't do it. If they say, don't transfer to my number, transfer to that number. Because by transferring to that number, you are encouraging no repayment. You can't borrow and say, instead of paying to this account, pay to a different account. You are diverting, you are stopping the institution or the underwriter from being able to lend to the next business.
Johnny Wise, Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks. You are reminded this is still Business Daily with me, Bismarck Ausa. Moving on, the Ghana Chamber of Mines is hopeful for a substantial decrease in mining activities in 2024. Recent reports from the Minerals Commission disclosed 7 fatal accidents and approximately 14 serious injuries in the mining sector this year. During the 9th Ghana Mining Industry Awards, Chamber CEO Suleiman Akoni expressed optimism, highlighting collaborative efforts with regulators to drastically enhance safety standards in the industry.
There are bumps in the way sometimes, but it doesn't mean that we have lost guard. And like I mentioned to you, we certainly will bounce back. We'll work very hard amongst ourselves competitively. You see competition. For each of these categories, you have like 12, 13 companies competing for one category. Among themselves, there is competition. In addition to that, we also have the regulator working with us, Chief Inspector of Mines, sitting on our most critical committee, making sure that we work together to ameliorate the practical changes, the challenges that could result in safety, incidents. So it's work in progress for us. Trust us, we will bounce back as we have always been.
That was Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Suleiman Akoni. Before we go, mobile money agents are expected to meet with Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications Companies this week. This meeting comes in response to the new policy by the agents limiting Momo withdrawals to 1,000 cedis per transaction. Dela Dunstan Abuchi is the president of Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana.
We received a call from Chamber of Telecommunication and that of our regulator that hopefully today being the 4th day, and this week we expect to meet with all of them, and if we are able to see anything favorable that is on the table, we will advise our esteemed agent accordingly. And we also want to put on record that it is not only about the cash out commission that we have a problem with, but we equally have a problem with the cash in commission, how the clarity and how much is paid to an agent. We have a problem with that. So we have so many problems that we put before the regulator when we meet them. And we also want to say that what we have introduced on the 1st of December 2023 is just one of the many interventions that we have put in place. And we are waiting patiently that something good will come out in this month so that we will not be moved to go to the next level of our intervention.
And that was President of Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana, Dela Abuchi, ending Business Daily with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Urban Blend continues with Black Rasta Tuesday.